one of the most influential theories in Catholic social teaching pertaining to voting and understanding social, political, and moral issues is the consistent life ethic, which was articulated by a former Archbishop of Chicago, Cardinal Joseph Bernardine, who in a lecture in 1983 at Fordham University in New York articulated this position. This ethic, which is also known as the seamless garment argument, argues that if you call yourself pro-life, you need to be pro-life on every level. It needs to be anti-abortion, anti-capital punishment, anti-war, supporting economic policies that benefit human lives, and so on. Now, it certainly is a good ideology, a good ideal to live by. I personally believe that as Catholics, we should strive for a consistent life ethic. The problem is that this ethic has been abused and distorted by politicians. So, for example, there have been a number of politicians, oftentimes politicians who support legal abortion, who will say, I'm more pro-life than that person who opposes abortion because I oppose the death penalty and I support policies that are environmentally friendly, that are pro-environment. So in the end, that will lead to a flourishing of human life. Well, that person supports the death penalty, anti-environment policies, but they're pro-life on abortion. So I'm more pro-life than they are. What's the problem here? What's the problem with this perspective? The problem is there's a moral error that is being committed here. It's an error known as moral equivalence. This is a heresy. Moral equivalence is an error that tries to equate moral issues that do not have equal value. For example, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops has articulated in their document on forming faithful citizenship for voting, forming the consciences of faithful citizens. They have articulated that certain issues will take priority over other issues. And the issues that have the highest priority are euthanasia and abortion because they constitute the direct killing of innocent human life. And so the direct killing of innocent human life will be important than other issues. This is also why Pope Francis's statement, when he was referring to the upcoming presidential election, is actually erroneous when it comes to Catholic social teaching. He said there isn't a candidate to vote for. They're both anti-life. One is pro-abortion and the other one is, anti-immigration or, illegal immigrants or migration and so on. And so they're both anti-life. Now, the statement is erroneous when it comes to Catholic social teaching because Catholic social teaching would say those are not equal issues. One of them constitutes the direct killing of innocent human life, of course, the abortion issue in that case, and therefore there's a greater need to oppose it than the other one. Yes, in a perfect candidate, in a perfect society, in an ideal world, we would have someone who can be a mainstream politician and abide by all these holistically pro-life issues, but we do not live in that perfect reality. So in choosing the lesser of two evils, we actually need to oppose the person who supports legal abortion, who supports euthanasia, who supports denigrations against human dignity and identity by supporting this crazy woke transgenderism sex change operation movement that has completely lost its minds. And of course, Miss Harris is also someone who has opposed judges who are members of the Knights of Columbus because of their Catholic association and has not been an advocate for religious liberty whatsoever, versus former President Trump, who has nominated the three Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe v. Wade, who has been very friendly towards religious liberty, who has been critical of the transgender wokeism movement that is completely destroying human identity and dignity, and interestingly, who's actually turned the Republican Party to a greater anti-war position than his predecessor, George W. Bush, who was neoconservative and had a hawkish foreign policy in the Middle East, while Trump's own foreign policy political scientists who are informed have acknowledged has been very isolationist, not wanting many foreign wars. So in that sense, there has been a greater pro-life perspective. And I know a lot of people have been critical how in recent months, after the political backlash that many politicians have received over the overturning of Roe v. Wade, Trump and others have lessened their rhetoric when it comes to abortion. He's basically translated the rhetoric into a type of federalist perspective that it should be decided by the states. I get it, to the criticisms of that, but once again, when it comes to choosing the lesser of two evils, that is still a lesser evil than the complete support nationwide of legal abortion that Kamala Harris has advocated. So once again, moral equivalency was the Pope's error, equating two issues that are not morally equal. And in that way, unfortunately, whether it was knowingly or perhaps out of personal ignorance, certainly possible, he cultivated confusion in terms of what constitutes proper Catholic voting that is formed by a moral conscience that looks at the issues and considers the graver issues versus the lesser issues, and therefore which candidate constitutes the lesser of two evils.